Welcome and thank you everyone for taking the time to learn about our MTSS team and behavior support specialists and the supports that we provide for Jefferson County Public Schools. My name is Celese McGinnis. I'm a licensed and board certified behavior analyst, and I'm excited to present to you today some information specifically about how our supports look in the middle and high schools. I, along with my counterpart David Spencer, are the support specialist for middle and high schools in JCPS. David, by the way, is with us responding to questions and comments in the chat area, so please feel free to utilize that area as we go along if you have any additional questions. So who are we? Our team of 11 specialists are made of 10 board certified and licensed behavior analysts. We're also known as BCBAs, and we also have one certified school psychologist. Our specialization is the science of human behavior and how to change, shape, and teach these behaviors. Our team is separated by zone areas. Zone 1 elementary schools are being supported by Amy Porter, Jordan Hall, and Morgan Hunt. Zone 2 elementary schools are being supported by Brendan Franklin, Holly Birch, and Sam Shookley. Zone 3 elementary schools are being supported by Kim Moore and Yolanda Williams. And middle and high schools are being supported by myself and David Spencer. We also have our school psychologist, Lorraine McMillan-Lee, who provides additional supports across all the zones and levels. So what is our primary goal as a team? Our goal is to work along with current teams within JCPS schools to build capacity utilizing our behavior expertise. Our approach is consultative in manner as we aim to empower staff with necessary skills to prevent and respond to challenging behaviors while improving student success with least restrictive measures and evidence-based practices in the regular school setting. Coming into middle and high schools, we know that it is not only important to ensure the individual student of focus is receiving the behavior support they need, but also ensuring that we work collaboratively with the student's entire team. These teams often and should include their pods of teachers, counselors, mental health practitioners, assistant principals, coaches, cafeteria staff, security members, etc. We have a bunch of individuals that we tend to interact with that could be of support to the student. So we tend to reach out to any and everyone who interacts with that student so that we can all come together and develop a plan for the student. We also consider the students' parents and guardians as a vital part of the student support team. Therefore, we connect with them and involve them in the intervention planning process as often as possible. We wanted to ensure our supports consistently align with the 3 pillars of success at JCPS. So how does our support align with the backpack of success skills pillar? By teaching the necessary skills through supporting teachers and administration, we give our students increased opportunities to remain engaged in the classroom where they're able to access the enriched content, filling up their backpacks with meaningful skills and experiences. We understand that the skills deficits socially and behaviorally often impede the success of our students. Our middle and high school students are especially faced with multi-level challenges that require interventions that address them specifically. Therefore, by identifying these challenges and addressing their individual deficits, we can work together to meet their needs and remove these deficits as barriers so they can be as successful as possible. How does our support align with the racial equity pillar? Our supports address behaviors from a functional standpoint, which instills practices for school staff to address behavior through environmental changes as opposed to by race or gender. This in turn creates the opportunity to have more equitable approach to student behavior. To ensure racial equity is a continual focus, we make sure that we are cognizant to cultural awareness in the development of student programming and planning, as well as with trainings with the teachers and administrators. How does our supports align with the culture and climate pillar? By equipping schools with proactive and positive behavior supports in the classroom, we hope to reduce challenging behaviors, increase productivity, and ultimately positively impact the culture and climate of not only the classroom, but also the building it spills into every day. So we understand that not only does our supports provide supports for the individual that we interact with, but we are also supporting the school as a whole because we are helping with the teachers as well as the administrators and anyone else in the school building to ensure that the student is as successful as possible and providing a positive environment for everyone involved. When might a school request this level of support? Schools may request support after Tier 1, 2, and 3 school level interventions have attempted to utilize supporting general education students and has yielded limited response and reduction of challenging behavior. Therefore, there's an indication of need for specialized consultative assistance to support the implementation, training, and coordination of Tier 3 individualized supports. Typically, we are contacted on the middle and high school level by administrators that see a student that has a high number of behavior incidences and or suspensions. Sometimes they're frequently absent or they're struggling academically. All of these play a part in the struggles that the student is facing. So occasionally these students are also on the verge of being recommended to an alternative placement. So therefore they usually have made attempts to intervene by conferencing with the student, reaching out to parents, and in any other way that they can think of to try to intervene with the student to help them to be successful. So when they try to do that and it does not seem to be showing any progress, typically they reach out to us to come in, and our response is to support the student and their team in reviewing the data, the history of interventions that have been used, and to help determine the function or the why the behaviors are occurring in the first place. That way, the interventions that are put in place are as effective as possible. So what does it look like when we actually come to the school to provide supports in the middle high school level? So initially, what we do is we make contact with the student's team of teachers to introduce ourselves and behavior supports. Occasionally, or oftentimes, the teachers will reach out to the administrators and say, "Hey, I'm having difficulties with this student. What can we do?" And so the administrators will reach out to the board for extra support. And so oftentimes we reach out to the teachers to ensure that they have an understanding of who we are and what type of supports they can expect from us. The next thing we do is we reach out to the parent and guardian. We want to ensure that they are aware of the supports that their student is being provided, ensure that they are on the same page as knowing what's going on with their student. And we also like to introduce ourselves, build a rapport with them so that they are interactive and a part of the actual process. Additionally, we'll provide resources to the parent because sometimes the struggles tend to spill over into the home and into the school, vice versa. So we want the parent to be on board and we want to help them as much as possible with anything that they may need in the home. So we'll talk to them and provide resources as needed. The next thing that we do is we interview all the individuals that interact directly with the student. We do this to obtain information about what strategies have been used, what they have determined to be triggers for this student behaviorally, what type of positive interactions have occurred, and what have they noticed to be preferences for the student. These are individuals that have likely built a rapport with the student, so they're able to provide a lot of information to us so that when we get a good start of what's going on to determine what's going on with the kiddo, we can get that information and use that in the process. When we actually start supports, what that looks like is we want to do observations in different classroom settings in the middle and high school. So since each middle and high school students go to different periods, we want to check out how these students are in each different period. So when we do this, we don't necessarily want to let the student know that we're there for them. So what we do is we reach out to the teachers and let them know that we're going to come and do like a silent or blind observation. So that way we can collect accurate baseline data and we can potentially reduce the reactivity, meaning the student will not be on their best behavior because they know that we're there to observe them. Oftentimes when we go into the classroom, the students just assume that we're there to observe the teachers. And so we want that so that we can just kind of blend in and sit back and observe the behaviors of the student in their natural environment. So multiple observations may occur during this time before we provide some recommendations because sometimes students act one way in one classroom and they may act a different way in a different classroom. So we may do multiple observations, come back on different days to do this prior to even introducing ourselves to the student. So when the next step that we do is we actually meet with the student. So we conduct an interview, we sit down and we talk with the student, we build a rapport, we let them know what we're there for. It's not, we don't hide anything. So they know that we're there to actually help to support them to be as successful as possible, as well as working with their team of teachers and administrators. So we build a rapport with them. We conduct a preference assessment to determine what motivates them. And then we establish expectations. So we talk about the boundaries of our role, and we also help them to understand that what it will look like when we actually come to the schools to either visit them or to interact with the administrators on their behalf. The next thing that we do is we ensure that a data collection system is in place, and if it's not already done or put in place, then we'll work with the teachers to put a data collection system in place. This is vitally important so that we are able to see if the student is doing better or if they're not. So we get the baseline data initially, we'll see what the behaviors look like. Once we start putting interventions in place, it is important that that system is already set up so that we can track this data to determine if the behaviors are increasing or decreasing and if any modifications are needed within the plan. The next level, BSP, stands for Behavior Support Plan. So Behavior Support Plan intervention, trialing, and training. Once interventions are decided or trialed, the team member will work with the school-based team to develop a plan based off of the data, observations, review of records, coursework, interviews, and preferences. So basically, we interact with the students to determine what works and what doesn't work. Then we sit down with the team and ensure that we're all working together to actually put this plan in place for the student. And once this plan is developed, we want to ensure that everybody that is involved with the student is also trained on this plan. If during the planning meeting, all pertinent team members are not involved or there for the meeting, because that happens, we're all busy individuals in the school system or in the school, we also reach out to those team members. So that may be we go and find the coaches that the student works with, or the security members that the student may interact with, or even the cafeteria workers. Anyone that interacts with the student, we want to ensure that everybody is on the same page and has an understanding of their plan, because we want the student to be as successful as possible. Initial implementation will occur with modeling and assisting more frequently and more hands-on on the onset of the behavior support plan. So what that means is we're going to be present. We're going to be there. We're going to be in the classrooms. We're going to be working with the teachers. We're going to be working with the administrators. So we're helping to ensure that the plan is being followed through with. We're there present to answer any questions that may come about. We're also there to kind of see what's working and what's not working. That doesn't mean that we're going to change things immediately. However, we want to see that the plan that is put in place is actually being implemented the way that it is written, the way that everybody has decided on, and that we can be there to help support if things kind of get a little shaky or go awry. We want to be there to be as supportive as possible. That's our role. As school team members become fluent in the strategies, support begins to fade to check-ins, whether it be in person or via email or phone. The goal for us to come in and to provide supports and to help with this is not to take over, but it's essentially to help support the school in supporting the student. So therefore, we can't have the student become reliant or the school to become reliant on us coming in and making the plan happen, because we will eventually fade from that student, because there are other students in other schools that need our supports as well. We're not a permanent fixture in the school. So we are going to fade. And so as we fade gradually, what the supports will start looking like is we will start checking in, whether it be in person or we will be making phone calls or emails just to see how things are going, see if the plan is still going well, and looking at data to see that things are going as smoothly as they should. The behavior support team member will continue to analyze the data and the response to the plan to see if any modifications are needed. If we start to see that things are not going as well, then that may mean that we need to come back to the table and have a conversation about if there's any modifications needed. But all of this is a team effort, because this is all in support of the school, the school's team. So this is all done as a team together. Once the data reflects a relatively decrease in challenging behaviors, the team member will assist in fading interventions if indicated and or exit from the case. But the behavior support plan will remain with the student for the school to utilize as needed. So when we get to the point of where the behaviors have reduced to a significant level or the goals have been met, then the team member will help facilitate with the team to fade the interventions so that the student can flow efficiently within the school. However, the plan stays with the student. It doesn't go away with us. It stays with the student. So therefore, if the plan needs to be put back into effect, it is there to be able to do so. The team member will conduct maintenance check-ins by reviewing student data in Infinite Campus, sending emails to the school, making phone calls to student teams, or visiting the school to check on the student's progress. So it's not that we go away forever. We also want to make sure that things are going well. So you could expect that we would do some check-ins to just say, hey, how are things going? Oftentimes we will have a team lead person. So there's a main person that is actually for that student to make sure that things are going well. And we'll check in with that lead person to find out how things are going. So what does our supports look like during NTI? So NTI, we have been facilitating and creating communications between schools and family. So we contact parents for check-ins regarding both home and school. So how are things going with home and school? We'll contact teachers to check in directly. So we'll find out, are tasks being completed? Are they actively participating? And we work as a liaison to communicate challenges or needs for the student or family. The next thing we also do is virtual classroom support. So we'll join meetings to provide additional support, such as reinforcing desired behaviors, restating expectations or directions. We'll also model interaction style and responding strategies, or provide recommendations for whole class virtual reinforcement systems. So if you ever feel like there's a need for classroom support overall, you can always reach out to us so that we can come in and provide some supports and give some recommendations to assist with that as well. Individualized virtual classroom support. During this level, we complete indirect assessments or interviews. We utilize the BFIW and the FAI with the teacher, and observations are conducted during live meets. We provide recommendations for interventions and or formal BSP development if it's needed. And we train the teacher via modeling via live meets, phone calls, or video modeling. We also do individualized home-based NTI support. So these are usually times where the parent is reaching out and saying, I'm really having some struggles in the home. What can you do to support us? When that occurs, we complete an assessment and interview the parents. We provide recommendations or interventions to trial to increase success with NTI at the home. We train via phone, live meets, video modeling. We follow up as needed to troubleshoot challenges or needs. The last thing that we are also doing is providing training to schools on various topics. Oftentimes, we'll have an administrator, a principal, or an assistant principal reach out to us and say, "Hey, I just need an overall training done with my teachers or whichever staff member or staff team that they're needing it for." And so we will develop a training specifically addressing the needs of that school, and we will do a virtual training for that. For those needs. So if there's ever a training that you feel like that is needed in your school, please reach out to your administrator, or if you are an administrator, please reach out to us. We are more than happy to do a virtual training for your team members to help from a behavioral aspect. So some of the things that we do and we don't do in our roles. What we do is we meet with your school and team of teachers to review, assess current, previously utilized interventions, and begin to consult with these teams to work on a solution that works with the administration, teachers, and students. We also analyze existing data and ensure data collection systems are in place. We observe, assess student behavior and interventions in place prior to meeting with the student in person to determine appropriate interventions based on functions of behavior. We'll consult with current teams to assist with the development of a plan in conjunction with behavioral support system schools already with what they already have in place. We'll consult with the teams to get training, modeling, and providing in real-time feedback and provide suggestions as needed. We also provide school and district-wide trainings regarding student behavior. What our role does not include is we are not case managers. We will help coordinate, build a team for your student, but their school knows their resources and the people best. We do not replace Tier 1, Tier 2, or Tier 3 support. Our team seeks to strengthen staff skills and future responses to behavior. In other words, we're working to build capacity. We're not replacing building level behavior response teams. We assist staff members in the prevention and response of crisis situations, but we're not there to replace the team as a whole. We also are not there to provide one-on-one to the student specifically. There have been historically team members that come in from the board that will also be assigned as a one-on-one. This is not our role. What we do is we come in and we assist the school staff with the implementation of interventions as a whole so that we're continuing to build capacity within that school. Here's a few examples of the documents that you may see us with. Some of these documents may look familiar. One is the BFIW, it's called the Behavior Function Identification Worksheet. This is used to help us to determine what the function of the behaviors or the challenging behaviors that we're seeing. This helps us to determine what the function of those behaviors are so that we're putting effective interventions in place. This should look familiar for anyone that has done a behavior support plan. This is JCPS's template for a behavior support plan. We sit down as a team and we go through this together, and we develop this plan together based off of the information, the data, and what we all have learned about the student in general. So sometimes from a middle and high school level, we'll also get input and feedback from those students, and we ensure that they are part of the plan, because what we have found historically is that when they are part of the plan, they're more likely to follow through with the plan. Every student that I have worked with from the middle and high school level with JCPS, when I ask them, do they want to be successful? They always tell me yes. So that tells me that they want to do something to improve from the current state that they're in, and they want to do better. So then being a part of the plan allows them to feel included and they're more likely to follow through and have some accountability with themselves. This is an example of the behavior tracking sheet that we utilize in the middle and high school level. This is sometimes given in hand, or we sometimes do this virtually or like a shared document. So it just depends on the needs of the school, depends on what the team of teachers feel most comfortable with. And based off of those needs, we'll go about it that way. But basically, we're looking at the top behaviors individually for that student, and we will have those behaviors tracked so we can collect data. I've mentioned evidence-based practices. So what is it? Evidence-based practices are intervention strategies that have proven to be effective through replicated or peer-reviewed research. Behavior analysts and psychologists are bound by ethics to only recommend interventions that have shown to be effective through research in changing, teaching, and reducing behavior. We will work with your school level team to identify functionally appropriate interventions, target-based data collection, and monitoring systems to support individual students. These strategies, once effective, should continue even after our team is no longer needed to maintain this progress. So how do you request supports? Teachers typically communicate to their administrators, whether it be the counselor, the ECE implementation coach, the assistant principal, or the principal, your concerns and needs for additional support for that individual student. The administrative team will look through their interventions and see what it is that they have done, and then they will determine if they would like to reach out to the board to find additional supports. Once the administration determines that they do want some additional supports for us to come in, we will excitedly come and support. All they have to do is call Matt Anderson. He is matt.anderson@jefferson.kyschools.us, and his phone number is 502-235-1173. You reach out to him, and then he will get that information out to us so that we can come out and assist in any way that we can. So we are all excited and hoping that we can come out and support your school in whenever you need. So here's our team. We are a fun group, and we are always excited to come out and support our JCPS students and to do whatever that is needed for them to be as successful as possible. We love working with the staff. We love working with the teams. So we're excited to hear from you. If you have any students currently that you feel like is in need of supports during NTI, please feel free to reach out to us even now so that we can go ahead and start providing supports, see what we can do with them now, and additionally could roll over to when we actually do go back into the school building to continue on with those supports as needed.